Sweet. So, this is going to be an instructional series in how to install VMware Workstation and how to download it from the VMware page on the Hub, which is a website that is dedicated, I guess, to providing software for students to be able to use while they're in engineering programs, CIT programs, and the like. I will also demonstrate on how to download the Windows 10 ISO file, which is basically a DVD file or media file that you can use. You can use something like the Power ISO to be able to mount a drive per se on your computer and be able to run the ISO file that way without actually having to create a piece of physical media such as a DVD or CD. So, but VMware will actually take care of all those types of things. It actually has a pretty cool utility where it just basically installs Windows 10 without you really seeing it, and then Windows 10 actually goes through its own install features as basically like it would normally do. It just skips like a first few steps of the install process that you would normally see when you do a manual installation of Windows 10. I've already pre-done some of this to kind of keep this short. So what we'll do is I will go through the installation processes of some of the software, but as far as the download portion, we don't have to sit there and wait for the entire media download, and we don't have to wait for the virtual machine creation. That's already all done. I've already preset all that up. So let's go ahead and get started. Basically, what you'll want to do is you'll want to go ahead and look online using whatever search engine you use for the Windows 10 media download tool, and you'll come to a page that basically shows you this right here, and it's the download tool now for the 32-bit version and the 64-bit version. I've already downloaded the 64-bit version tool, so I'm just going to go ahead and download that and show you that file now. So here we go. We have the Windows 10 media creation tool right here, and basically you just click it and run it. So double click. And that should start the tool. Okay, so there we are. So it's asking you whether you want to upgrade this PC now. My computer is already Windows 10, and you can also create other installation media. What it'll do for upgrade this PC now, it'll actually download temporary files onto your computer, and you can then actually have it do the upgrade. That's what I did with this computer. I don't usually like doing that, but I wanted to see how well it worked, and it actually works rather well. It copies all the files over, did everything for me. Actually, and my computer is a home-built system. I built it all myself using about top-of-the-line parts about 3 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago. So it transferred everything over, all the drivers transferred over, it downloaded whatever it needed, everything worked out of the box basically. However, my wife's computer, we didn't upgrade to a Latitude 10. It was not as successful, and actually I should have just been smart and checked the Dell website, and apparently the Latitude 10s and even her XPS 9200 that she has, which I don't remember exactly what version XPS it is. It's about a 2 years old computer as well. It's a desktop. Neither one of those are Windows 10 capable at the moment because Dell has not bothered to create drivers for it. So anyways, so when we did the Windows 10 has a rollback feature when you feel that Windows 10 was not what you wanted. So for a month, it will actually keep the old installation on the computer. So when we did the rollback, it messed up the entire thing. The screen was flashing constantly. I basically had to use a Windows 8 USB drive that came with the system and reinstall everything from scratch. So it was absolutely horrid on the rollback. So if you're expecting to do a rollback and everything's reinstalled just like you had left it, don't count on it. If you moving forward, it's great. Windows 10 does a fantastic job if it works, if your computer has all the proper parts. But if you want to go back, it does not work. So please be aware of that. So we're going to create an installation media for another PC, which means it's going to download the files. And so you will go ahead and select the language of your choice. I'm German, but I will go ahead and choose English just for the ease of use. Windows 10 Pro, and then I can actually select which version I want, and here's the 64-bit. So what you can actually do is you can choose what type of media you want to use. An ISO file, which it says you can have to burn to a DVD, but that's not true. Or you can actually do a USB drive, which is actually what I've done on another computer, and it works just fine. I just basically used a 4 GB stick that I had laying around. I actually got the stick from Veterans Upwards Bound. That was pretty cool of them to give me that. And so basically installed on that also works very well. So, but what we'll want is the ISO file. So we'll select that. And you can choose the download location of where you want to download it. As you can see, I already have the file here. It's a 3.4 GB file. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. So we'll just assume that it's downloaded everything that it needed to. It takes about, on my connection, I have a 30 meg connection, so it's pretty quick. It's about maybe 5 minutes, 10-minute download. So I'll just cancel that and click out of this, because it'll go straight into the download and start downloading the file. So I'm going to go ahead and quit out of this. Yes, I want to quit. It's going to delete some temporary files. Okay, so we have the media file. It's in the downloads folder. So I'm going to go ahead and show how to download VMware Workstation. I already have a link here. This particular link that I have in the URL bar up up here in the address bar. This is actually, this is the Edge browser. This is Windows 10 new browser. It's actually pretty cool. It's pretty streamlined, but it's very difficult to understand if you're older and you don't see a text box for the address bar. People are going to have issues with that. Well, in Windows 10, it literally doesn't show you an address bar. It's not a different color. It's just blank. So unless you type something in the search bar and just see it populate up there, you don't really know. Anyways, so this URL, I received in an email from Western. They sent me the an invite basically to On the Hub, because engineering students and CIT students can actually download free software to use for their program. It varied, the licenses, the time lengths of those licenses vary depending on what type of software it is, obviously. So like Windows, you can download Server, you can download SQL, you can download, I mean, all kinds of different software. Yeah, VMware, vSphere, vCenter, you can download all those softwares. So, but anyways, here's the direct link. And I'm going to go ahead and just go there, and then you can see that you're at the right place because you're going to see the WKU sign here. Also, what you'll be interested in, you will want to create the account or link your account. I already have an account. You can click register. It's going to ask you for an edu.edu address, most likely Western's, because you have to be associated with them. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so basically I'm logged in at this point, and you can look for what you want to download. So in this case, you can go to VMware. It has Cloud Fundamentals, vSphere Optimization Scale, software. So in this case, here we go. You just click the software portion, VMware Workstation, click it. And then you can just add it to cart. I already have it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually kind of skip over some of this. It should be pretty self-explanatory. What it will do is once you go through the process of adding to cart and to actually quote-unquote purchase the software, it will actually send you an email, and that email will link you back to the site to be able to retrieve your product key. It does not send you the product key. You actually have to go back and log back in on the site and actually get the product key. says Workstation does require a 64-bit processor and a 64-bit host operating system, so if you do not have that, you will not be able to run VMware Workstation 12 for Windows. It says you'll be able to place an order for this product again in 12 months after the initial order. The license you receive with this offering is valid for 12 months within the first month of the offering that the offering was ordered. So just kind of something to keep in mind. You can download things again, it'll just be a while before you can do so. So you can choose what platform you want it for. They do have a Linux platform as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And here's the page where basically I have downloaded or already gone to the page to get my product key. So let's say we have downloaded the software, which it's again in my downloads folder. And that's the default folder for most every browser that you're going to use. So you know, there's some browsers you can set up to ask you where they want to download the items. So it varies per setup, but as far as the default setup, it should go straight to your downloads folder. Just in case you're wondering, the screencast software that I'm using is actually called, actually can't recall at the moment. I'll go over XSplit Broadcaster, and I'm doing this directly to YouTube Gaming, which is kind of neat. So, so here's a setup. Welcome to the VMware Workstation Pro Setup Wizard. A lot of these things are pretty default settings. You get the end user license agreement, which of course every IT person should be reading. Enhanced keyboard driver. What this will do, it does say that a reboot will be required to use this feature. I'm not going to install it. However, what this does is, for those who use foreign keyboards are set up completely differently, especially like ones that have special characters. Such in German, we have something called an umlaut, which is basically the A, O, and the U with two dots on top, and Turkish language has that as well. There's many others. For example, the Polish language has the caret on top, and the different accents that point in each direction. So what this does, it actually makes the keyboard more responsive, so that there's no delay when you type. It actually also makes it more secure, the input, because of the way it, I guess, translates the information. So what you would want to do really on ordinary install is to actually checkbox this and go ahead and install that as well. I'm going to skip it because it does say that a reboot's required. Just to go back, it is going to install this in the, which is interesting. It says it requires a 64-bit operating system, yet it's going to go ahead and install the VMware software into the default folder for the 32-bit install. So be that as it may, I'm just going to go with the default settings. So check for product updates on startup. It's going to check for new versions, install components, and you can also help improve VMware Workstation Pro by keeping this bottom checkbox checked, and it's just going to send anonymous system data and usage statistics. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this, but ordinarily I wouldn't mind if it's on a home setup. You can create shortcuts, one for the desktop, one for the start menu. I'm going to go ahead and do both. And the next one's ready to install, so it's going to install the software. I've already done this installation once, so what may happen is that this is actually a lot faster. When I did this the first time, it actually took quite a while for it to do the installation, which was kind of odd. I've rebooted my computer since. This entire setup is on a fresh reboot, so should go rather quickly. Yeah, last time it was on the virtual network drivers, it did take a while as well. You can now choose to enter in the license. I've already gone ahead and did a copy on this license key, so I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in. There we go, Control V and pasted it in. And you can also skip and enter it in later if you choose to. Alright, finished. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start up VMware Workstation. All right, your evaluation period ends in 406 days. Wonderful. Okay, we already entered this, so I'm kind of curious why it would display this. So anyways, so what we want to do is we want to create a new virtual machine. In this case, there's already one right here that I've created, like I said. It's already pointed to the right location, which is odd because I told it to remove any and all profile information that's in here. So the fact that it actually lists this VM is kind of funny. Anyways, let's go close this out, go back to the home. So what you should do in order to install a new VM, you can go ahead and create a new workstation. Just click on this here. It's going to go through a typical process or a custom process. In the custom process with Windows 10, for some reason, it will not allow you to choose certain features. So I'm just going to go ahead and move forward. Workstation is compatible with ESX Server, so you can actually manage this workstation with that. But what you will want to do is I'm just going to go through these and show you these things. Sorry, my dog's going a little berserk in the back because I think my wife is probably due to be home from class teaching. So you can choose how you want to install the guest operating system. In this case, we have an ISO file. It actually has this option. You can choose to go selected. You can go to Browse. I'm already there at the Downloads folder. And then you can go ahead and click the ISO file. It will actually detect what operating system it is, and it will tell you that it's going to go back to the easy install process. Because what happens is when you move forward throughout the settings, at least what it did for me the first time I installed it, it did not allow me to use the 64-bit operating system, which was kind of odd as well. Anyways, I got a prompt here. Because I don't have a direct license key for another installation of Windows 10, I have a legit installation because I have a legit version of Windows 7. But in this case, because I'm not putting in a license key, it actually prompts you and lets you know that Windows will install without one, but you must manually activate it later. So you can choose to not show it again. I would leave it and then just say yes. So you can name your virtual machine whatever you want to name it. You can give a location for it. I have several drives on my computer. I chose to go ahead and create a virtual machine on another drive that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and select the virtual machine folder and call it test just for now, just so that I can differentiate. Okay, I guess I have to create a separate folder. So let's go ahead and browse. I'm going to go ahead and create a subfolder under virtual machines. Apparently it wants to do that. So test. And okay. So there we go. Test, test. BIOS type, you can choose BIOS or EFI. EFI provides a whole bunch of functionality with basically within Windows itself. So if you have devices that for detection, hard drive, AHCI, which helps with RAID setups and all kinds of other things. It basically adds more things that you can manipulate within the Windows environment and that the Windows environment can see, basically. I can choose how many number of processors I want. Well, apparently it seems to be working for this setup, so I'll go ahead and continue with this. I have an i5 processor. Just so you guys can kind of see what the setup is that I have. I've also have 3 monitors. Not that that's normal, but so here's my setup. So basically, I have an i5. I've got a 3570K. It's running at 3.4 gigahertz at the moment. I have 16 gigs of RAM. I'm running the 64-bit operating system, and I'm part of a normal work group. So this is the actual properties window for the system properties. But anyways, so I'm going to go, because I have 4 cores already, 4 cores and 4 hyper-threading processes, I'm going to go ahead and go with 2 processors and 2 cores, just so it makes the install a little bit quicker. And then you can also choose the amount of RAM that you want to choose. I'm going to go ahead and go with 4 gigs, because I have plenty. You can choose a network type. You can do bridge networking, you can do NAT, you can use host-only network connections, or you can choose not to use a network connection. So you can actually choose, I would leave it at the default, which is network address translation. That's what the easy setup actually suggested to use. Here we go. You can choose between different different SCSI controllers for the hard drive, or for the, in this case, yeah, just the hard drives. The one that's recommended is LSI Logic SAS controller for SCSI. I'm going to go ahead and go with that. The virtual disk type, it does have SATA, SCSI, and IDE. I'm going to go ahead and go with the recommended, which is SCSI, but I do have SATA 3 drives in my system. So you can say create a new virtual disk, use an existing virtual disk, or use a physical disk for advanced users. I'm going to go ahead and create a new virtual disk. The maximum size is by default set to 60 by VMware Workstation. However, Windows 10 by itself, Windows 10 Pro 64-bit, should only use around 11.3 gigs or something like that on the install. So I'm going to just drop this to 20. I'm not going to do anything else with these workstations. I don't plan on installing any other software. So basically it's just going to be the default install. No updates or anything, because all I'm doing is just a demonstration on how to install it. Ordinarily, you would want to use the 60 that they advertise, depending on what it is you plan on doing with that workstation. So I'll locate the disk space now. Well, it says allocating the full capacity can enhance performance, but requires all of the physical disk space to be available right now. If I do not allocate all the space now, the virtual disk starts small and grows as you add data to it. So actually, that's I've read numerous instances actually of this process in VMware. It is actually recommended to assign all the space that you have. I'm no expert by this. I've used VMware very sparingly, but I saw a post by someone online discussing how the contraction and expansion can actually cause problems. So I'm going to go ahead and just allocate all the space now. You can also basically store these virtual disks as a single file or multiple files. The reason why I would want to do multiple files is because if you need to back it up someplace, it's easier to take smaller files to be able to move them. I could use a 16 gig, 32 gig, 64 gig memory stick, pop that virtual disk on there, and move it someplace else. However, not a lot of people have those types of size drives, at least not common, that as far as I know. So splitting them up makes it a little bit easier, because you can do it bit by bit, or you can pop it on several DVDs or whatever you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it as a single file, just for the ease of use. Also, there is say that when you split larger virtual disks up into smaller files, it does reduce the performance, because it has to put all that information that it's calculating, that it's processing, has to put it all back together. So I'm going to go ahead and go with next. It's going to create the VMDK file, which is a virtual machine disk. One 20 gigabyte disk will be created using the file name provided. Next. And here it gives you an overview, basically, of what you've set up in this case, or what you will set up, or what I've set up at this point. So go ahead, 20 gigabytes, 4 gigs of RAM. It uses NAT for the network adapter and 4 CPU cores. Power on this virtual machine after creation, that's absolutely fine. The customize hardware button will send you back through this process of basically changing some of the hardware settings, changing RAM, changing the processors, things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click finish. It's going to go through the process of creating the disk. This process takes not a very long time. It's actually fairly quick. I was very surprised at how fast it actually did this. The process that takes a little bit longer, and the process that I may end up skipping, is going to be the Windows installation process, because it will go through setting up files, setting up desktop, and it goes through all these different settings, and it took about a good 20 minutes for it to go through that process. So what I'm going to do is once it gets through creating disk, I'm going to go ahead and actually close out of the process. I actually should have unchecked power on this virtual machine after creation, because that's what's going to kick it into the actual installation process to show you. So, but I think I'll be able to stop it no problem. I can just hit the stop button up here once the virtual machine becomes active. Anyways, so in Germany at this time, I think the Oktoberfest is actually coming to a close fairly quickly. Oktoberfest is actually in September, for those of you that didn't know. So to all those that have a little bit of cheer, Prost, Prosit. I don't know if some of you are familiar with computer gaming, but the background that I have on my desktop is a Mass Effect background. And yes, I'm a little bit of a gamer. I've got a Skyrim that I play and a couple of others. Just a few. For those that want to geek out a little bit, I do have a GTX 980 as well, so it's got a couple of cool features. I actually have two independent fans that work on the graphics card. It's kind of neat. So the machine is rebooting. The following devices can be connected to this virtual machine, and in this case the camera. So it's going through and it's actually booting to CD. So in this case, I didn't see this last time because I actually did not do the custom install. I actually did the easy install. I did not select EFI boot basically. However, just for simplicity's sake, the installation in this case, the press any key to boot from CD or DVD is the installation for Windows, is where you start. So let me go ahead and cancel this. I'm going to go ahead and restart this. There's the VMware boot screen for that particular virtual machine. And I pressed any key to get into the actual load process. So in this case, it's now loading Windows 10. It's going to go through the installation process just like it would for Windows 7, for Windows 8, XP, whatever. So this is the screen that you're going to see for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this and basically just go to the other VM that's already created. So let me go ahead and pause this. Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and go into this VM right here and power this on. Keeps talking about my my camera basically. Wants to basically enable it for the virtual machine. So as you can see, actually, I have several VMs here now. I have the original one that I've created, and I've got the test environment. The test environment does have a little pause symbol, meaning that I've actually paused the processes on it. And in here, I've got the Windows 10 Pro install that I did originally. So basically, this should be just the standard boot up process for Windows 10. Going a little bit over my time limit here. I was hoping to keep it to 30 minutes, but it's going a little bit longer than I thought. I can be a little long-winded. Fantastic. Looks like the station's almost booted. There we go. Now, please keep in mind this is a virtual machine, so it is going to run a little bit slower than it would on a standard machine. My computer does not take this long to start up, even with it being in an upgrade. So all right, so basically this is kind of a holdover from the touchscreen thing. So in order for you to go access your login screen, drag up. So here's my login. I'm going to go ahead and log into the machine. It actually shows you a few things: your network connectivity, whether you're connected to the internet, ease of access. So if you need to have visual issues and you need to be able to have a magnifying glass, or if you're need to have an on-screen keyboard, or if you need to have a screen reader, that's what the ease of access is for. And then you have a power button as you would normally do. And then go ahead and log them in. Fantastic. So it's going to try to connect to the network, and it's going to ask whether it wants to be discoverable. So that's Windows 7, 8 connectivity feature. So basically, it's just making sure that if you're on a public network, that it's not going to share everything on your computer and make it accessible from everywhere. So basically, I'm just going to choose no. Okay. All right. So here's our virtual machine. This is it. Already done a few things here, so I'm going to empty the recycle bin. Sure. So basically, what this is kind of a hybrid between Windows 7 and Windows 8. They've actually done a fantastic job with the operating system. Just the fact that the installation to go forward was actually rather flawless for me. I've had other friends that have done the installation on a Mac that was running Boot Camp on it, and apparently he's able to play DayZ just fine, so it must have actually worked rather well. Also, they streamlined a few things. I came from the Windows 2000 environment, so there was a lot of things that Windows 2000 and even 98. There was a few things that they actually did very well for administrative staff, for IT people. It used to be, for example, when you clicked the network icon in the bottom right-hand corner, you used to be able to right-click this and just do properties, and it would take you directly into the adapter that you're using and its configuration. In this case, you can't do that anymore. I mean, you can even do it on my screen, and it just says Open Network Connection, Network and Sharing, and it goes to this, and then you have to click local area connection, and then you're in Properties. Well, it used to be a heck of a lot quicker to be able to just right-click what the actual interface, the adapter, and just do properties. In this case, I've just made it a habit on my personal machines to go ahead and add a link that goes directly to the NIC in case I need to do any modifications, see if there's traffic or something like that. So in any case, there's just a few things that they kind of, with Windows 8, just kind of really muddled up. And even with Windows 7, I feel, as an old school guy, that they really kind of took a step back in a way to make things easily accessible anyways. The regular end user, everything was great. Windows 7. Windows 8 was atrocious, like an atrocity. But so Windows 10, basically, I'm going to go ahead and close this because I've got everything already set up on my workstation. But that's the installation, folks. That's basically installing, downloading and installing the VMware Workstation, downloading the media file for Windows 10, and then installing the media file on a virtual machine provided by VMware Workstation. So for those of you that want to hang around and just want to see kind of some of the features of Cortana, and maybe see some of the other features that it has, I'm more than welcome to, I'll be more than happy to show this to you. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the workstation, power it off here. Power, shut down. The test workstation, I think I can kill that because it's just the installation anyways, so power off. Yes. Because you could power these down even during a regular install. You could just shut down a computer if it's in the installation process. It'll just start over at the beginning and go through the process of installing things. Not recommended, but it does work. So I'm just going to go ahead and close these and close that. All right. So anyways, so Mass Effect, there we go. Woohoo. Best game ever. Anyways, so Cortana and Windows 10, that's like the biggest thing that I was looking forward to have somebody to be able to schedule appointments for me and to be able to have conversations with, but it's not there yet. They made it kind of sound like you could have a regular conversation, but there are some cool things. So let me give you a little quick demonstration. Hey, Cortana. Hey, Cortana. Oh, never mind. So I think what's happening, because I have the application that's kind of taking over the microphone is the screencast software. So unfortunately, I can't use it. So sorry about that, folks. It won't allow me to use it. So anyways, here we go. We've got a little bit of the interface here. They've kind of combined the start screen and the start menu. So the start screen from Windows 8 and the start menu from Windows 7. Some of the default things here. Mail, pretty cool idea. I don't know if it was as wonky as Windows 8, but the Mail app in Windows 10, if you have more accounts than one account, I don't know whether one account will even hold up good. Well, but when you use Mail on Windows 10, what happens is it freezes every so often. And it's a real pain in the neck because you'll be sitting there typing an email, or you're trying to just compose an email and it scrunches text together. It's real buggy. So I'm really hoping that they fix it because it's a neat little app. The other thing is you can have, they basically done the calendar, which is really neat. You can really use Cortana. You can basically set Cortana to respond to Hey Cortana. It'll open up. It'll basically say, yeah, how can I help you? Or if you just say, Hey Cortana, please check my appointments for today. And she'll actually look at your appointments and will read them off to you. You can actually schedule reminders by saying, Hey Cortana, create a reminder. She'll actually create a literal, she'll have a box and it'll fill everything in for you as you go through the process. You can say everything. You can say like a short sentence and say, hey, create a reminder. Or you can say, create a reminder for January 20th, 2016. And then it'll say, what would you like to have the reminder be about? And then it'll just fill in the title, and then it'll say maybe a comment or something. So it has a lot of cool features with Cortana. The integration is kind of cool. You can actually ask Cortana and say, hey, Cortana, tell me a joke. She'll tell you the joke of the day. She'll go through like a little database of jokes. They made her sound really, really cool. She actually sounds rather human. You can even kind of put her down. You can say, hey, Cortana, you suck, and then you can apologize, and she'll go like, oh, really? So it's really kind of neat. They kind of did, they really did put a lot of thought into like the responses and the emotional response that she provides. So it's really like talking to a real person in a way. There's some things, of course, that she doesn't know. You can ask her, hey, do you like dogs? And then she'll give you like a little thing, and she'll say, yeah, dogs are all right. Or what do you like better, cats or dogs? And then she has to make a decision, and sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. And she may just open up Edge, the new browser, and show you a question. You know, it'll show you the responses for that question. So whatever it can't respond to, basically Edge pops up and it shows you whatever you are searching for in this case. You can open applications through Cortana. You can do all kinds of things with Cortana. It's really useful. I do like what they've done with the different apps that you have on that screen. You can basically add different cities for. It's lying. It's not raining right now. Anyways, but yeah. So a lot of cool features. So a lot of good to know information on the start screen. I was very surprised that they actually really made it a little bit more effective. Calendar, for example, it's already pre-filled with all the information, holidays, election day, Veterans Day, all these different things. So that's really neat. There's a few features that people may want to be aware of also. When you install Windows 10, it does ask you under the settings for Cortana and during the install whether you want to give access to all your contacts and all those types of things. The world is still not as secure as we would like it to be. Information is still readily available, so it is really up to you how much information you're willing to share with Microsoft. What this does is it actually enables a lot of different features within Windows 10, such as when you do searches, that the searches are geared more towards you, something that Google has done since Kingdom past. But so Microsoft has jumped on that bandwagon. They now track basically everything that you do, and they organize everything accordingly in Windows. And if you use Cortana to her fullest capability, theoretically, she's supposed to be able to cater to you and provide news articles and reminder appointments and things like that of things that might be pertinent to you. And at least that's the plan. I don't think it's quite there yet, but they really want to make everything contextual to you. I don't know how good it is because I don't necessarily like bias. So if I'm looking on a web page and I'm looking for something and I'm looking for Mass Effect, it might actually pull up just the gaming part of Mass Effect. But actually Mass Effect isn't effect. It is actually a physical thing that happens. So what do I want? Do I do more gaming searches online, so hence it's only going to show me the gaming portion of a search, or will it actually show me an unbiased thing and show me everything that I need to know in the first few headers or pages anyways? So anyways, so there's a few security considerations to be aware of for sure when using Windows 10. During the install process, it will ask you. It does not on the VMware install. Keep that in mind, please. But if you're doing a standard install from a DVD, or you're doing an actual upgrade on your computer, or you're doing the USB install, it does have several prompts about privacy things, and you can, like I said, you can choose to leave them checked or you can uncheck them, but they are checked by default. So it does open up your contact lists, your your email contents and all those things. It does leave them open by inspection by Microsoft. Just something to keep in mind, folks. But anyways, I'm sorry I couldn't actually show you Cortana. I wish I would have checked that as well, but I just made the assumption that it would work, because it works fine when I don't have a screencast going. But other than that, have a fantastic evening, and again, Happy Oktoberfest, and keep trucking, folks.